So Anatomy of a Fall is an indie darling that's been getting a lot of attention this year, in the year of our Lord 2023. It is from Justine Triet out of France. It is a small feature, small cast, and it is rather clinical. It is the story of Sandra, Samuel, and Daniel, a small family living in France at this wonderful 3-story cottage up in the mountains. It's snowy. Sandra and Samuel are both writers. Sandra's having a bit more success than Samuel is, and the two of them are kind of at odds a little bit. And one day, while Sandra is taking an interview with a local reporter who wants to know more about her new book, Samuel's playing music rather loud upstairs while he's fixing up their attic, renovating. And their son, Daniel, who is partially blind, goes out for a walk with their dog, Snoop. He returns home to find that Samuel has fallen out of the 3rd-story window by the attic, or maybe was pushed, and has tragically died in their driveway out in the snow. Obviously, a lawyer shows up to represent Sandra because there's something that's happened here. Her husband has been mortally injured, right, in one fashion or another. And the state, or I should say the country, France, meanwhile, puts together I guess like a prosecution to try to say that, hey, we think there might be foul play here. This famous writer may have been murdered by his wife. Anatomy of a Fall is much of a courtroom drama, actually, in a court that's not American. It's surprisingly fresh and different. And is very much a look at the moments in a relationship that may seem insignificant or not important at the time, or maybe even meaning of one thing, and then how that can be shifted and turned and perceived differently when suddenly like events lead a lot of people into perceiving what could otherwise be inconsequential. It's Anatomy of a Fall is what, just over 2 hours, two and a half hours long. It's a little long. A little long in the tooth, and also a surprising amount of English in this film, I should say. So if you're afraid of subtitles, you'd be surprised at how much of Anatomy of a Fall you won't be reading. You'll be hearing. The movie's Anatomy of a Fall. Andy, what do you think?
Man, there's so much going on in this. Like I said, I had heard a lot of buzz about it. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. I think the last 4 winners have been women. Julia Ducournau also won last year for Titan. Incredible movie, and it's less concerned with whether or not she did it or not, with a lot of the dynamics of their relationship. And I've heard an interview with Justine Triet where she says, part of what she wants to present is the prejudices we bring to people initially, because everyone seems really great when we first meet them, and kind of the more we learn about all the characters, we kind of learn that like people aren't there's a lot of tension in this marriage. The husband seems to be depressed. He's not a success. He's an unsuccessful writer. Meanwhile, Sandra is a very successful writer, and there's issues of has she been stealing his ideas? There's issues of infidelity. There's a lot of kind of sneaking around going on. Their son is partially blind due to an accident, which may or may not have been preventable, depending on who you ask and which parent. There's so much here, and the dynamics of it are really interesting. And it's just very very grounded. They recreate. It's not It's not these courtroom scenes where you get I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's none of that. It's very procedural. Very much presenting evidence and counter evidence, and discussing legal strategy. It's a whole lot of that in the courtroom.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it to something like Law and Order, because like when I think courtroom procedural, that's what I think of, right? Or like not West Wing, but like an episode of CSI or something. It's not quite that. I'd liken it almost more to something like 12 Angry Men. Like it's a much more kind of thoughtful look at a prosecuting system and what evidence like appears like in the wake of a big event, right? Like a good example at one point, Sandra tells her lawyer very early in the film when he's first arrived at the house to kind of get a look at how things have been in the weeks since, obviously, or the days, I think, since Samuel's demise. And she says, "Oh, he was playing music really loud to make me angry because we've been fighting." And he says, "Did you tell the prosecution that?" She goes, "Oh, no, I didn't say that." And it's like, it's an interesting detail, right, for us, the audience, to hear very early in the film that she says, "Oh, he was doing it to make me." He was being aggressive in the way he was presenting himself in the open as this kind of like hidden antagonistic force. It's actually really clever the way they kind of introduce him with this really loud rendition of PIMP 50 Cent, right? Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Really, really odd, but actually really charming. Additionally, like later in the film, there's details that come out, right? Text messages on his phone before he passed away that it's like, oh, well, who were these two? What was this about, right? Like, and she, this now ailing mother, has to defend herself and defend her son and their livelihood and explain that, hey, this is the reason this is, and I just feel like he must have jumped. That must be the only way. But then suddenly the prosecution in Act 2 says, oh, no, there's a very clear way this could have been foul play. Here's exactly how this could have played out. And suddenly we in the audience are not really given the decision to decide who did what. A lot of that actually falls on the shoulders of another character, Daniel, their son, who's partially blind, because he bears witness to at least parts of this. He hears them talking before he leaves for the walk. He's the one who finds the father when he comes back. And because he can't see particularly well, due to instances that are explained in the film, he has to kind of be this like moral bellwether a little bit, and to what he can remember and can't remember. And you get like just a really fascinating back and forth from a state that otherwise is doing its job, right? A prosecutor who's very, very brilliantly acted. His name is Antoine Reinard. I don't know him, but he's great in this movie. You should do more.
Really incredible.
Yeah, really fantastic as this just like hard-hitting guy, a judge who like really seems to kind of have her mind set one way, and then a woman who ultimately is just trying to defend her and her son so that she doesn't lose everything. That is, of course, if you don't think she pushed him, and that's part of what makes this movie so fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of ambiguity, and when, like I said, when you first meet everyone seems great. That you think, well, there's no way she would have done this or could have done this. Like she's a loving mother, she's she's a successful writer, she's very pleasant, and then it's like, but then you get more details revealed and there's just more and more ambiguity, and you're like, well, you're never really given enough to make a decision one way or the other, but it's definitely, you're given enough to say, yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't put it past her.
Right. And you said it great. Like, it's more about the perception of you publicly than it is about like the truth, which is strange. The lawyer says it a few times. She says, you believe me. I didn't do this. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I believe. Like, what matters is like what's presentable and what everybody else thinks, like it doesn't, whether you actually committed a crime is almost irrelevant at this stage. Like, because if you want your life to continue, like, we have to present this defense, and this is the best way this looks, and this is why we should say it this way, and don't tell them this detail and tell them that detail. Like, really interesting and methodical, and like I said, like analytical in a way that I think is really refreshing, even with a long runtime. It's an intimate script. Justine wrote it with Sandra in mind as the lead. Her and Samuel both share their same names as their respective actor and actress. They just called them that on set. They shot it really fast. It was a low budget. It's a small cast. Why do you think this is getting so much attention, Andy? Like, why is this winning the Palme d'Or? Right? Like, what does this movie have that other movies don't?
It seems to be a very captivating drama. I do feel like it was a little overhyped to me, but that often happens with these, kind of festival award winners. This is what happened with After Sun last year. That's why it took so long to watch it. It is a really gripping drama. It has a lot to say about men and women and relationships. That's really what's on trial, is her relationship with her husband more than anything. And like I said, what didn't happen, and everything is so inconclusive, and so both sides just kind of go after each other. The prosecution is hell bent on proving her guilt, and sometimes it seems like they have good evidence, and a lot of times it's not really, but they're just kind of sticking through it. So, yeah, it's just the courtroom drama is really compelling. The performances are really great. Sandra Hüller has an incredible, really big scene near kind of near the end. Um, yeah, I think those are the reasons. What about you?
No, I think I'm in the same boat. Like I think it's charming because it's offbeat, like in a way that I think people don't expect. You just like even watching the trailer, I thought, okay, I kind of know the beats of this or where it's gonna go, but it's moments where it lingers. It's moments where it subverts in a way you wouldn't expect that I think make it so exciting. And yeah, really pushing this idea that like it fundamentally is not about whether or not a crime was committed. It's about the perception of whether or not a crime was committed and what that means. And like I think it's really fascinating. It's really cool to spend time in that space. I mean, similarly, like totally inversely, After Sun does the opposite, right? They give us the audience the idea, the kernels that hey, maybe there's more here than meets the eye, and it's up to us to dig in. But Anatomy of a Fall instead stands back and says, look at this whole parade. Look at this whole charade of how this court system works and how this goes together, all to ultimately help people determine how they feel about a situation and where it might have gone and how you will be judged going forward because of that. Like, interesting, right? Like, in a world where you shouldn't care what anybody else thinks, in Anatomy of a Fall, what anybody else thinks is all that matters, really. And, like, that's really fascinating, I think, in a way you don't expect, especially coming out of France with a little film, with a little budget, and a little cast who turn out some movie magic, right? Andy, would you recommend Anatomy of a Fall?
Yeah, I would. It's definitely one of the year's best. Like I said, it's been winning awards on the festival circuit. I think it's definitely going to be up for either Best Picture or definitely Best International feature. And I heard Sandra Hüller might get a nominee for this. She's also in The Zone of Interest, which is something that's going to be coming out that we'll be keeping an eye on. Good performances, really compelling drama. It's a little long, like it's 2.5 hours. It's long for a drama. It gets a little long in the third act, but other than that, highly recommend.
I'm in the same boat. Would recommend. I think Anatomy of a Fall is really fun. Get yourself a cold brew or a glass of wine or something. Sit back and just kind of take it in. It's long. I know it's long. There's probably a way to watch it like in halves or parts, like because it is a bit slow in the middle. But you'd be surprised how much rope you're given in that 2.5 hours. It seems simple. There's more to it than Andy and I are telling you, just on its face. You should check out Anatomy of a Fall. It's really cool. Good movie to kind of twist your mustache to and think about, as you're sitting there watching. And that's God, off script episode 232. Andy, jam-packed episode today. I don't know how we did it. I know we ran a little over time, but not too far. We're not doing too bad. What are we watching next week?
So there is a ton coming out. There are 8 movie releases happening in 1 week, basically,
My God.
because of the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm going to go over those first. So this Friday, the big release is the Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That releases on November 17th, along with Trolls Band Together. Take the kids, take the family. That's going to be huge, too. Taika Waititi's soccer drama comedy, Next Goal Wins, starring Michael Fassbender, also comes out November 17th. And the one that we're going to be taking a look at, Thanksgiving, which is a horror movie based on a trailer from the Grindhouse movie, which is pretty old now, from Eli Roth, had made these fake trailers in that movie. And it's finally come to life, so we're going to be checking that out. And we're also going to be taking a look at The Holdovers, which is Alexander Payne's new drama starring Paul Giamatti. That looks like a lot of fun. And then also Thanksgiving releases, 4 big releases on Thanksgiving. Napoleon, Ridley Scott's historical epic. Wish, which is Disney's new princess drama. Dream Scenario, which is the Nick Cage film where he appears in everyone's dreams. And then Emerald Fennell's Saltburn also comes out on the 22nd. So a ton of movies, 8 big releases in the next week. We're going to have some winners and losers when we come back. But that's what we're watching.
Insane week at the movies. 8 films. I don't know what the studios are thinking. I think if anything is getting dragged along the bottom here, it's going to be Dream Scenario and Saltburn and Next Goal Wins, right?
Yeah.
Because like Trolls and Wish are both going to do fine. Hunger Games will do okay. I think Napoleon will get big numbers. Big numbers for Ridley Scott. Next Goal Wins is going to get trashed. Like there's no way people are turning out to see that movie. Maybe. I don't know. Like I just don't. A tropical film during Thanksgiving. starring Michael Fassbender. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe not. It's too many movies, but I'm excited about Napoleon. Not super excited about Thanksgiving, but I think that movie will be self-aware, right? It's got to be. It has to know what it is. Like, so I think at least that'll be fun. We'll see. But if you liked the show today, Off Script episode 232 or 231 last week or 230 the week before that, anything we've done, anything we're working on, if you like what we're doing, if you've listened through this far, thanks. First off, thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. And secondly, if you could do us one more favor, one more solid, and just, follow us on some social media platform. You might already follow us on Facebook. You might already follow us on YouTube. Big things going on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can follow us over there. We're on all kinds of podcast outlets: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartMedia, right? Like, we're on all of them. We're on Deezer, I think. I think we're on CastBox. You can follow us on any of those, right? If you do us one solid, just pick one. Whichever one's your favorite, whichever one you never even visit, right? Throw us a little bit of a follow. It would help us a ton. It actually helps any podcast, really, that you listen to, like Real Talk, some industry advice here. Every podcast needs the help. So if you have the means, do us a solid and throw us a follow. Or subscribe, even. Subscribe to Off Script Film Review. You get new episodes delivered straight to your phone every single week, every Tuesday when we do them. That'd be a great way as well. Movies are expensive. Podcasts are cheap. Off Script Film Review is absolutely free, just because Andy and I like seeing movies and talking about them. And while I'm thinking about it, you can check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can email us correspondence, your reviews, your thoughts on things we've seen or haven't at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. With all of that in mind, my gosh, what a show. Jam-packed, 232, one for the record books. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.